Hello, fellow traders. This is Curtis from Beyond Backtesting, and I recently tweeted the performance factors that I like to see in a trading system, or the characteristics. And I wanted to show you how you could take a Tradestation optimization report and export that report to Excel and basically look for the performance factor, look for the systems that, or the optimization settings that match your performance requirements. So one thing I always recommend when you're developing a system is to set some minimum requirements. That way, a lot of traders are always thinking, well, is this system worth trading? Is this system worth trading? Is this worth trading? And if you establish some requirements before you basically start becoming attached or invested in developing a system, that will help guide you. So I set, what I tweeted was, what I want to see in a trading system is a profit factor of 1.6 or greater, a win ratio of 55% or greater, a net profit to max drawdown of 4 or greater, at least a minimum number of trades of 30 trades, preferably more, and then obviously there's some potential for that to change based on the type of system. But I do recommend that if you're developing systems, go ahead and set your pass-fail requirements before you start becoming invested in that system, and that way when you put a lot of energy and time and work into a system, you can go back to this and say and see, okay, instead of having to ask somebody or go to a forum and say, okay, is this system of trading? Because you set your pass-fail requirements. So I want to show you how to do that. So here is a Tradestation optimization report. I just run a couple different ones on this so I could show you the export button. So I basically click the save there, and that exports the report to I save it as a text file. Then I can import it into Excel. There's some you'll go through and find the columns and all, and it imports it like this. And then within Excel, you can select all the different rows or all the different columns, and you can click go to your data tab and click sort, and you click filter, and you can filter based on you click the filter button, and then you'll get these tabs at these drop downs at the let's see what I'm doing here. You click the filter button, and you get these drop downs where you can filter on these on the values in the rows, but you can also do the numeric filters. You can say less than, greater than. What I actually did in this case is I went ahead and created some additional columns here, which you can certainly do it that way. But I did some additional columns here where I basically said profit factor, and I do the for the profit factor. Oops, sorry. For the profit factor, I basically said it's a profit factor greater than, could be greater than or equal to 1.6. Actually, I did greater there, greater than 1.6. I'm actually set this to greater than or equal to 1.6 because 1.6 is acceptable. And then I added another column for win ratio, right? And for my win ratio, I want it to be greater than or equal to 55%. And then I added another column, and this is, I think, kind of interesting, is the R. So, traders talk about R, which is basically your risk reward per trade. And so in this case, I did the target divided by the stop, which gives me an R value, which I think is important because obviously if you're risking a lot more than you're going to make per trade, that could be psychologically difficult to trade. Now I haven't put in this example, I didn't put in the number of trades, I didn't put in the drawdown to total profit, which those are also important factors. But if I was going to add that, I would just basically add another column and say in this export I don't have that, but basically number of trades. And you can select the columns within the optimization report. There's a way you can do that. So I'd say, equals greater than, I'd select the column, I'd say greater than or equal to, 30 trades or whatever I wanted that to be. So once I have these columns, again, you can also do this from the filter, but I kind of like putting these columns out here. Once you do that, then what I can do is I can simply go to this right here. I can say, okay, I only want the systems that pass my win ratio. Okay, I only want the systems that pass my profit factor. Okay, and then then it's sorted by, right? Let's double click this. It's already sorted by the net profit. But we notice here that the first system, okay, so all these systems pass my profit factor and my win ratio. But the other thing I want to do is go down to where I see an R of close to 1 to 1, right? The first one. See, this first one has the higher net profit, but it has the R ratio is very low, right? It has the win ratio acceptable, but this means it's got a very large stop, right? You're making 8% of your stop loss. So I want to go down here till I find an R ratio that's acceptable. This first one's 0.64 is acceptable, and actually both of these are acceptable. This 0.82 is even better because it means basically that my risk to reward is almost 1 to 1, right? It's getting closer to that 1 to 1 level. With 0.5 to 1, I think is acceptable for depending on what type of system you have. And so here we can see, okay, my profit factor is 2 on both of these systems. My win percentage is 83% and 74%. And, I have a reasonable stop to target ratio. So these systems, now, if you look at just a net profit, let me remove these filters. So you can see here it's $4,000. These systems made approximately $4,000, right? And if I remove the filters, which I can do this by selecting all the columns and just turning this off, you can see that Tradestation, the default sorting by net profit, pulled up a system with a $27,000 net profit, but the profit factor is 1.28, which I wouldn't trade that unless it was a higher frequency system with certain characteristics. The win ratio was really bad as well, really abysmal at 25%. There's a hidden column here with the variable as well, which is not shown here for this system, and you can see the R is 3.8, which is that's good actually. Obviously, that's better than 1 to 1, but it doesn't meet my profit factor and win ratio. So you can, so I hope this helps. You can go in and see, which systems meet your requirements in this way, because the way I look at it is, okay, if your profit factor is acceptable, then the difference between a profit factor of 1.6 and 1.7 or 1.8, I'm not going to put a great deal if there's only small differences between those systems. I want to see. I want to see a whole set of characteristics. I want the win ratio 55% or greater. I want the profit factor 1.6 or greater, and then I want the R per trade at close to 1 to 1 as possible. Obviously, it's better if it's better than 1 to 1, but you don't always get that. So this allows you to do your system analysis on the multi-factor. Now, this is an optimization. And, as we know, optimizations rarely hold up. But what I would do next, if I was going to, the next step I would do, among many steps in this process, would be I would do a sensitivity analysis around those values I found and see that they're similar among the settings I found. If those settings were, I would vary the sensitivity of the system, see that the results nearby would look good too. And if they did, then I might want to put that system and monitor it for possible trading in the future based on the actual performance. So hope that helps. Pretty simple stuff, but thought it might be interesting. That's all.